I'm sure if you go and ask an entrepreneur how they went from pilot, from vision to pilot to MVP to alpha, beta, and all that, the one thing comes across is a lot of grit, a lot of passion, a lot of persistence, a lot of hard work. There is no magic one. We see that in AI, that we have all these big tools, and now what? What we do with it? We got it here, ready to go. Who's gonna be looking after it? Who's gonna be showing the journey? Who's gonna be holding people's hand and taking them through the whole process? And that today is what's taken most of our time.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Masters of Innovation. This is episode 6, where we'll be talking about the frontline worker and XR. And there's no one really that I thought could talk to me more about that than my good friend Miquel from CBRE. So Miquel, firstly, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. Super excited. Looking forward to the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. And you know, what I love about you, Miquel, is that you've lived it. Right, you really have lived from start to finish, and you know you've been at CBRE. You've been at CBRE for a while. You obviously lead the XR hub now, and everything to do with kind of extended reality, AR, VR. But it wasn't always that way. You know, kind of humble beginnings back in the CBRE days. Maybe you could tell us a bit about your kind of frontline worker journey, as it were.
Sure. Actually, before I joined CBRE, I spent 13 years of my life working for a company in Cambridge,
right?
Designing, creating, building robotic systems.
Cool.
For the life science environment. And and for over 5-6 years, I used to travel the world, literally with my tool case, my suitcase, my British Airways, air miles, and my Hilton points. And I spent almost 6 years traveling the world, fixing, repairing robotic systems, training scientists about putting those technologies, those robotic systems, ultimately helping the scientific community to expedite the whole process of R&D. So those were very tailored, very targeted audience, where we had 6-axis and also 3-axis robotic systems. And so my job was an overseas field engineer, mainly in America, mainly in Europe, but I spent most of the time traveling, lots of airports, hotels.
Yeah.
And as part of that, I acquired a lot of experience being as a frontline worker with my tools, using my hands and sometimes my brain, fixing, repairing, and training some of our customers.
Absolutely, and you know that knowledge that you gained over that time, just an understanding of what the frontline worker needs, right? And I think that there's the challenges you've kind of lived it, like to my point. And then obviously you've joined CBRE and you've been on a kind of journey in that sense. But now you're kind of working with frontline workers from an extended reality or an AR VR perspective, right?
That's
so
correct.
Maybe tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So when I first started at CBRE, I moved into the actual the facilities management,
right.
What we call the GWS, the Global Workplace Solutions, which is the main tower within CBRE, where we provide the facilities management services. Under the GWS, we also have data center services. We also have lab services solutions. So under the big CBRE, under the GWS tower, I move into the actual life science division. Because of my background, being on the other side, so to speak, I move into the life science lab services solutions. And when I first started, I joined as a head of innovation and program management for that specific service, for that specific solution. And one day, I sort of come across with this magnificent headset. Who would have thought to me that changed my life professionally? But yeah, that was almost 7-8 years ago, when I came across with the Microsoft HoloLens 1. Pure serendipity. Someone told me about it. I didn't know what it was. I went to Dr. Google, I searched it, and I thought, wow. Then I had the opportunity to put it on my head, and I thought, this is it. This is going to change the way we interact and we consume digital content for years to come. And very quickly, I put the dots together. I had one of those eureka moments where I thought, and probably thanks to my experience previously, fixing, repairing, frustrations, being on the phone, trying to get the documentation, get support access, missing translation. I thought that's going to disrupt the way we, as I said, we're going to be consuming and interacting with content. And then from that moment on, I set my mission.
Yes.
In setting up XR solutions for CBRE.
Yeah, and you obviously lead that. You're now the AR/VR lead, and CBRE obviously one of the biggest professional services kind of companies out there, and you obviously lead the kind of AR/VR division. Where did that XR hub come from? What were the initial problems you were trying to solve? Obviously, we have a shared experience on that kind of HoloLens side. We both experienced it, both in different situations, and it kind of changed our careers for the better. But what was the initial problem you were kind of trying to solve there?
Wow, it says how long do we have?
Less than 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. Excellent. To begin with, it wasn't that we had a manifested problem per se.
Sure.
It was more about be able to have that vision.
Sure.
Be able to
the future
of the future,
yeah.
how that would impact our frontline workers. And because I had the experience of being there in the field, dealing with the customers, and in fact, being a frontline worker, that helped me to position and have the vision to see how that would impact. Very quickly, I realized, there is a couple of clear use cases here. And the one that, everyone probably agrees and everyone saw straight away is the ability to use this technology purely as a remote assistant, as a remote support. And then when I look around CBRE and I look that we have tens of thousands of technicians and engineers, some mobile, some on site, some hybrid, I thought, wow. I mean, that is something that definitely we need to look into it and explore further. So we didn't go from, overnight to just create and set up a whole solution. It took years.
Yeah.
In fact, it took almost 6-7 years from that eureka moment to where we are today, which we have a professionalized, fully scalable solution under CBRE. But all those early days, it was about to sort of test the waters. It was about starting with a bit of low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
And then from there, I'm all about think big, but start small.
Yeah.
And then grow organically.
Yeah, and maybe you could tell us a bit about, obviously the early days there is that you had this initial vision, which has then led to where you are today. What's the bread and butter of this XR hub? What is the technology and what are the sorts of things that you're doing with it?
So today, again, we appreciate that the XR or mixed reality or
whatever we want to call it, metaverse or
spatial computing is still pretty much uncharted waters. Today, we're still focusing on the basics, which is utilizing these for our technicians, engineers to do remote support. Think about an enhancement of the mobile phone. Like one day, we went from fax machines to email to mobile phones, now to mobile phones to XR, spatial computing, as an enhancement. I've been there myself, stuck in the middle of nowhere, trying to describe the issue in front of me with my phone in my shoulder and my neck, trying to fix something, and then missing translation, or I want a picture from this angle, or I want a video from there. No, I want it from the other side of the machine. The ability to be able to have this sort of technology on your head, hands-free, and see through, that is a huge benefit, especially when we talk about the enterprise, or if you want to call the industrial metaverse, and people that do things with the hands, not sitting on a laptop, on a mobile phone, have to do things with the fans. Technician fixing, repairing, and sometimes higher level voltage and others moving parts. Having hands-free and see-through is essential.
Makes a massive impact. And, obviously I used to work at McLaren, and obviously the people that are building the McLaren cars, the automotive side, the ones that are actually turning the wrench, or the servicing engineers that are actually servicing them, they're exactly the same situation, right? And it's the same problem a million times over. And I guess, look, we've both lived this experience, right? We've both led XR initiatives within an organization, obviously me at McLaren and you at CBRE. What I wanted to do was to have some real talk, in inverted commas, of like, right, we've both lived this. How can we share our knowledge to help others that are kind of going through this as the internal champion, let's say, of this technology? So how do you best identify problems? So starting one, because at the end of the day, if you're not solving a problem, you're not doing anything. How do you identify those problems or use cases? I'm interested to get your thoughts on, obviously you started this as very much as a visionary project, but it has obviously found its use. And but I'm interested to get your thoughts on how do you find those kind of scenarios?
So sometimes it's just by, obviously there's a bit of experience, a lot of talking and, proof of concept, piloting.
Sure.
That's the best way. Don't overkill it. Don't overthink it. Analysis paralysis, you've heard that before?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just easier to just get on with it and trial it, test it. And again, I keep saying, trial it, test it, fail quick, and learn even quicker. So our initial concept, as I said, it was around remote support. But then, guess what? During the COVID, we started to get more and more requests around, can we use it to do some remote inspections? We got all of a sudden people could not travel, all of a sudden people had to work from home. But guess what? The frontline workers had to go on site and fix and repair, touching things, feeling things. So we had a huge demand during the COVID for utilizing XR for the remote inspections. And now, God forbid, we are long past COVID, still one of the key now new use cases, not just from remote inspections, but also for helping to do project visual updates, or helping for training, or to demonstrate project completions.
Sure. And
then the big one, which people, going back to your question around the challenges or the product statement, yes, the remote support, that was the obvious one. Yes, the remote inspections. But then people started to use this technology. Hold on, I can record while I'm fixing something. Hold on, I can record while I'm in escalation, I'm doing some troubleshooting. So I can record. Guess what? Now I can create a video.
Yeah, I can share that knowledge.
And then we went from the remote support, remote inspection, to start to use this tool, thinking ahead. We have a huge challenge in our industry in terms of skill gaps.
Yeah.
In the next 10, 15 years, when the baby boomers generation are going to retire, what we do today, us and you folks, to retain and transfer their knowledge. Is XR going to solve our problems? No. Is XR going to be one of those enablers? XR, spatial computing? Maybe not, 100%. I see that, I experience that. Today, one of the most usages in XR is utilizing this technology to be able to record. And again, you may say, yeah, you can record on a mobile phone. Yes, you can. You can record with a camera. Yes, you can. However, you cannot record at the technician's eye view with hands-free, see-through while you're doing it and narrating it. That is goal, especially when we're going to talk later on about the future for AI and data.
Totally, yeah, 100%. And to your point on the use cases as well, is that, like, to your point, it's no point wasting time, like thinking about what you could do or could not. I think that your point on actually like just jumping in, I think is really critical. And from my experience, I actually sat within the IT department, which in some ways is actually removed from the business.
Yeah.
And so when I was trying to find use cases, I tried to embed myself with the business areas. So I found myself going to the design studio and talking to the designers. I find myself going to our servicing and maintenance department and talking to those guys and talking to the people on the manufacturing floor. That was the only way that I was able to actually identify the problems. And as it turned out, the key area that we focused on was serviceability, because that's where the business problem was. So I think that's key. One of the other things that I said this on stage at the Meta event, and we talked about it as well, was that like AR VR is very much a bottom-up technology. In that, like, there's people like us on the ground level who are actually trying to solve a problem, and then we're fighting to try and get budget from budget holders to actually expand these projects. When I think about AI, it's the complete opposite, right? I'm working in the AI space now, and we have loads of customers coming to us to talk to us about their visions, but actually it's a CEO-led initiative, right? And so the people at level lower who are actually implementing it maybe don't have all the context they have. They have the budget and they have the support, but they don't have necessarily the use case. So it's a complete flip. So from your perspective, obviously you've gone from the putting a device on your head, seeing the value, proving it out. How did you gain the budget and the understanding from the stakeholders to invest in this kind of business area?
Lots of patience.
No doubt.
Lots of patience, lots of grit, lots of vision.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. It's still not easy. I was very, very persistent, very persistent. And as I said early on, think big, start small. And yes, we had this big vision, but we need to prove it. And we know the challenges of going to, especially when you asking for budgets for something that is quite out there. Yeah, is out there to be able to everyone to understand it.
I guess that's the difficulty as well, is that some of these executives just don't understand some of the VR technology or the AR technology. Were you giving them demos? Is that what, the way you were able to win them over? How did you get them on side?
I probably done 1,000 demos. I'm not kidding. Over and over and over. Yeah. Hence saying patience, persistence. Keep knocking on the door, until one door. Yeah. They will listen to you. Are they gonna give you everything? No, but make the most of whatever they give you, and then from there, trying to put together strong case study. Yeah. Do a small pilot, identify your use case. It's pretty much going to be kind of a bootstrap approach, and that's what it's been pretty much for the first few years. It was, and it's still sometimes today is a bootstrap approach. You're
almost like running a little startup within a massive organization. Right?
Yes.
In a way.
No, 100%. There is that word, intrapreneur.
Sure.
Which I pretty much, I do identify myself, because we had to create a whole new technology solution, a whole new technology service. And for many years it was the one-man van and the dock. Sure. And I don't have a dock, so that was just me. And it was very challenging. Working evenings, weekends, creating the vision, selling it, constantly having to do demos, constantly having to explain what it is. Still today is confusing, but nevertheless. And that unless you have that vision, have that passion and drive, it's very difficult.
And you're going to get told no quite a lot, and you're going to get. I remember when I used to do some of the demos, like some days I'd come down like almost like depressed to a certain way, because I was like, I believe in this technology, I really see the value of it, but like sometimes people will be like, that's never going to happen, that's 5 years away, and it's like, no, it's really here. Like I can see it, I can show it, but not everyone's going to be on that journey with you. I guess when you're talking to the stakeholders to get the budget, you've got to kind of talk in their terms, right? You've got to talk in the terms of like return on investment, cost saving, and things like that. Yeah. Because if you don't talk that language, what I found in my personal experience is people think, oh, that's just Alex, he's messing around with some toys. I don't know, did you ever get that pushback?
Yes, I did. And there is that dilemma, toy versus tool.
Sure, yeah.
And for the beginning, most people, and most of them know, they see that as more a toy than a tool. Sure. We changed that now. I think now, sort of the penny finally dropped, and more, not just in CBRE, but across the industry, people now started to realize, hold on, there is something here. Especially with the latest announcements with Apple last year,
It's becoming more mainstream.
It becomes more mainstream with Meta, with potentially partnerships, Samsung and Google, and others, which most likely I'm forgetting. So apologies. But in essence, it's been a very lonely journey. Now we're getting more and more people getting it, seeing it, feeling it.
Totally,
touch it. So it's a different experience. So for me, it's very important to identify those, low-hanging fruits. Don't try to overcomplicate things. Don't try to, go with a fully fledged solution.
Pick one area,
prove
the value.
Correct.
And that's what gets the budget.
And make sure you identify what's this value. In our case, it was pretty straightforward, to be honest. It was about reducing trouble.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah. And they're fixed costs, right? Flight costs, hotel. You mentioned that you were like Hilton member or whatever in your frontline work.
Those were the happy days.
Yeah. Many points.
Yes, those were the happy days.
British Airways points.
Yeah, right? Today EasyJet and Holiday Inn.
Exactly, right? But, it's a fair point, right? So there's a lot of costs associated with flying these engineers around the world.
It's not just that. It's also the CO2 reduction.
Sure. Yeah. And the time as well.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I spend probably most of the time sitting in airports and planes than actually doing the job.
Problem. Yeah.
And sometimes I appreciate that's not the case all the time, and it's a kind of extreme. But a couple of times, I'm not going to say names, I flew all the way across the pond to the US just to go there, flick the switch, and put the fuse.
Wow.
It looked great to me because I was a superhero.
Yeah. But you were the person that knew which switch to flick, and so it was your knowledge, your actual, and this is what we're trying to extract here with this technology, is bringing your knowledge to where it needs to be. But in some cases, you don't need to physically be there. For something as simple as that.
No, you don't to. And again, it's not just the reducing costs and traveling, which, to be honest, today, I don't know about you, but it's become more and more difficult to travel and justify traveling. Back in the days where I used to, as I said, be an overseas field engineer, it was much more straightforward. But today, myself, it's very challenging to get in a plane and justify it. So any tools that we have out there to be able to do that, such as XR, is a bonus.
It can definitely make a big. And
then the other thing, Alex, is the cost reduction for traveling and expenses. Yes, it's CO2 reduction, but also more importantly is the productivity gains. Rather than have these subject matter experts traveling from A to B to C and back to A, they could spend that time maybe improving the manual, perhaps increasing and reviewing the SOP, and doing more quality work rather than being traveling and being sending all over the world. And
to your point on that knowledge transfer, right? Because that's how we get that knowledge to the next generation, right?
And at the end of all that, what we do know is to provide a better customer service. And if you can provide that flick of a switch or replace the fuse within a day rather than 2 weeks, how you calculate that?
And the thing is, for the customer, these are manufacturing sites that, in some cases, if the manufacturing line is down, you can talk like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions in terms of lost productivity, in terms of lost output. It's a big deal for some of these organizations.
It is a big deal. And going back to the point I said earlier on, and while you do that, guess what? You can record that session. So the next time it happens,
you have that historical.
You have that historical. So you can pop it up, and if you want then go a bit more sophisticated, you can take those videos, which you can do today in AI, and start to create a procedure. And that procedure, then today there is enough platforms out there to be able to create a more sophisticated 3D holographic step-by-step procedures, which to me, that is taking the Haynes manuals from the 80s to the 21st century.
Finally.
I
mean, we're pretty much there, right? So I guess, the last, well, not the last thing, I've got a couple other things after this, but pilots and production, right? We've been in the AR, VR world long enough to hear about this term of pilot purgatory.
All this death by pilot.
Death by pilot, all of this, we've heard it all, right? And why is that? Well, typically, with these innovation projects, which typically they will be marked as internally, you get budget for a pilot. it goes okay or goes well or it doesn't go well. And that's kind of it. Like it never seems to get to production. It never becomes a real technology. You know, if we take your example, for example, you used the HoloLens, you proved it out, did a pilot, but it didn't end there. It went to production. This is something that you do at scale. There's a whole business around it, to your point, that you run. That whole Intrapreneur thing. How did you do it, Miquel? How did you get something that went from a pilot into an actual production system? Because I think there's a lot of people that would love to hear from you how you made that happen.
So it's no difference from any startup out there, taking from a concept idea all the way to make it real. I'm sure if you go and ask an entrepreneur how they went from pilot, from vision to pilot to MVP to alpha, beta, and all that, the one thing comes across is a lot of grit, a lot of passion, a lot of persistence, a lot of hard work. There is no magic one. And don't give up in your dream. And I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's real. There is no magic one. I cannot say, oh, I did that, boom. No, it's a combination of many things. But the key, if you're really pushing me hard, Alex says, right, where are you going to boil it down? It's down to those four factors: grit, passion, drive, and vision.
Yeah.
And be persistent. As I said, it's not easy. It wasn't overnight. It took me years. And many times I thought, what I'm doing here, I'll go back to my day-to-day job, because I already had a day-to-day job. That was on top of. Yeah. So for many years I was double, triple, quadruple had it. But clearly, you as an entrepreneur need to test that vision against. And that's why when I started to put together some pilots, and then I heard, can we do that in our team? I see what you do. Oh, that makes sense. You start to get a feel that, hold on, there is people.
There's traction.
There's a traction here. Thank you. There's traction here. It's not just me going nutty with a vision that only me see, only me believe.
You needed to find a partner in the business almost to help accelerate that.
And you need to have strong business sponsors. Strong business sponsors. You cannot do all by yourself. No. You're going to do most of the work, don't get me wrong, but you need to have those key stakeholders, business sponsors, supporting you and ultimately helping to influence the business. And so that combination of those key attributes or qualities with the attraction factor, with those business sponsors, when you put it all together, you throw it out and you mix it up and stir it a few times. It's not a formula for success.
There's no guarantees.
There's no guarantee, but you increasing your likelihood big time.
I think that's a key point, and I think what I'm learning from this, you need someone passionate at the forefront, a champion, a Miquel and Alex or whoever internally that's going to run the project, that's going to work late, that really wants to see it through to production. I think that's going to be critical. And I think to your point, you need to be partnered with a business owner and a business problem that you're solving. And I guess with the pilot side of things, once you're able to prove the value and show on a piece of paper, this is the cost that we have reduced by doing this. This is the profit that we have been able to add to our business by doing this. It becomes a black and white decision for decision makers to provide you more budget and take it to production because it impacts the business in a positive way, right? So you just, instead of being a burden or a cost, you are a net positive to the business, right?
Yeah, 100%. Having said that, even then, when you have everything lined up and all the stars of the galaxy line up for you, you may find a situation, which I did find throughout the years, that yes, we get it, but today is not a priority.
Right.
Today we have other things to fix.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know, they don't sort of disregard it. Oh, this is no future here.
Is this where the patience comes in?
Correct. and the persistence.
Yes. Yeah.
Because once you put all those factors together, you have strong case studies. You've got testimonials from customers. Sometimes you realize when you look at the pipeline and you look at it across, it's that, yes, we hear you, Miquel or Alex, but Can we put down hold?
Yeah.
Because we have priority A, B, and C first. And that's where at that point, you don't stand still.
No.
You carry on with the bootstrap approach, building more case studies, doing more pilots. So for when people are ready, or if anything, you keep pushing from the bottom up.
Yeah. And I think that's key, right? Someone has to be the driver of the technology. And I think, it's that blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it that really makes a difference. And then, obviously there was the pilot to production. You've done the big thing, which is obviously setting up an entire hub within the organization.
Yep.
Any thoughts or kind of wisdom on that? It's similar to the entrepreneur side. It's setting up a business almost internally. So in terms of recruitment, finding the right people.
Yep.
Any kind of thoughts on that?
Yes. The one thing that I think is in one movie with with Corner, one of the famous actors, they said, "Build it and they will come."
Sure.
And guess what? They don't. You have to drag them.
Yeah.
You have to keep them. You have to look after them, and eventually, boom, they get it. So I thought, well, I made it.
Yeah, I built it. They'll come.
I built it.
Yeah.
I showed all the case studies.
Yeah.
I showed all the testimonials. People love it.
Yeah.
People, when they see it, I thought, my job is done here now.
Yeah.
No.
It's going to be an amazing amount of inbound traffic.
Inbound traffic.
Yeah.
No, in fact, that's when it really starts the real job. Because, Kevin Costner, now, Kevin Costner.
Okay.
Kevin Costner, I just came to my mind. Where there's a famous expression, and one says, "Build it and they'll come." And they'll come, and
but
they
that's
don't.
Not true. No.
You have to drag them, and then you have to look after and keep them there.
Yes.
And for me, even though we spend most of the time here today talking about the vision, the entrepreneurship, the grit, the passion, the business cases, the pilots, which is all good to set the foundations. But the one thing I realize, it's as much as difficult, if no more, is after that.
Right.
To keep them there. Adoption, usage, prove the return on investment. It's for me, the whole change management, the whole success management is as important, as I said, if no more, the actual idea, concept, and vision. Because, as I said,
if someone's not using the technology or not getting the value out of the technology, they're certainly not going to continue using it or continue paying for it. Or, this is like, and this could be for your internal project, but it also could be for an external client.
100%. And you think, right, we crossed the line, we achieved what we wanted to achieve, it's been deployed,
it is live.
I tick the box,
Yeah.
happy day, what's next? No. I realized, and that maybe something that I did not definitely anticipate, is how hard it is. It doesn't matter how cool, sexy, valuable, and we see that also with AI.
Yeah.
There's no difference. That's not an exception of XR. That we see that in AI, that we have all these big tools, and now what? What we do with it? We got it here, ready to go. Who's going to be looking after it? Who's going to be showing the journey? Who's going to be holding people's hand and taking them through the whole process? And that today is what's taken most of our time. I know it's not a lack of people not understanding it. It's not a lack of people incompetence. It's that because
you need to hold someone's hand on that journey.
And just because they've got another 1,010 things to do.
Of course, yeah.
And they're busy. They've not been waiting for you there to come with this cool tool to fix their lives. So it takes a lot of time and effort to be able to go through that sort of process until eventually it becomes another tool in the toolbox, rather than just a toy in a nice shelf piling dust.
It's super interesting, and I think you're 100% right on the adoption side of things. I think if the person is not gonna, if it needs to become almost instinctual in that frontline worker use case that they grab this that adds value. If that's not the first thing they're grabbing, you're kind of losing in that sense in terms of the adoption. What's next for you guys? So what's next for Miquel for CBRE in this space? Obviously you mentioned AI. I imagine these field engineers and frontline workers having an AI assistant that's going to be able to understand things being there. I'm interested to get your thoughts on that kind of vision.
So in terms of next things, it's, again, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's still very strongly and carry on building that proper fundamentals. And sometimes people forget about the boring things. Those processes, those playbooks, those SOPs, those procedures.
Management, the understanding,
The understanding, there's a great book, A Lean Startup, which the whole Lean Startup methodology is focusing on those boring things that startups and they don't focus on traditionally. We made it, we sell it, we hand it to somebody else and they take care of it. Unfortunately, that's not my situation. I still need to take care of it. And for me, getting those foundations right and getting those, what we call the boring things, which is all these processes, all those change management, all those success customers, playbooks, SOPs, procedures, is super important. Because that's going to be the blood and the platform to succeed for these, ultimately to stick. Because if it doesn't stick,
what are we doing?
Correct. And that's super, super important. In addition to that, clearly we always need to see what's coming next. And a lot of people asking me over the years, what's going to be the killer app for XR? What's going to be the killer app for XR? And I think I found it. The killer app for XR, guess what? It's going to be AI. In fact, I think that the two, they sort of
work together.
So well. Why? Going back to the point I said early on, in our industry, especially when you look at the demographics, in the US, we're talking about in our field, we're talking about facilities management. Our demographics is about 60 and above. Here in EMEA, it's about 55, 60. APAC, a bit more younger, on the 45, 50. But today, there is not enough apprentices. There is not enough people coming through. In fact, here in the UK alone, there is a 46% shortage of engineering skills today in the UK alone.
And that's only going to get worse.
Correct. It's going to get worse. And I'm lucky enough to be collaborating with some of our great team in the CBRE from apprenticeship schemes for the next generation. And guess what? There is people coming through, but I'm telling you now, there is not enough people to fill all the gap that the baby boomer generation are going to live in. So how are we going to reduce that gap? Tapping on technology, AI, XR, whatever else. Is XR going to fix all our problems? Of course not. Is XR, as I said earlier, going to be one of those key tools? When I say XR, again, spatial computing, mixed reality, augmented reality, virtual reality.
The whole spectrum.
The whole spectrum, 1,000%. It has to be one of those enablers. And I see this more. And for us, the ability to be able to have XR and AI together, yes, we know AI is no magic wand. You need to have a very programmatic approach when it comes to data. But
I think it's important, and I think that vision of AI being able to detect objects and telling you things, and I think that's going to be key, right? And I think that at a human level, I think we're going to have AI assistants. They're going to help us in our day-to-day lives, and for these technicians, it's almost going to be a supporting technology that they'll be able to talk to. They'll be giving them advice, and it's almost like maybe their first point of call before they make that call. To the other expert somewhere else.
Oh, yes.
Maybe they talk to their AI first.
No, think about it. And today people see AI, mobile phone.
Yep.
Laptop.
Typing.
What about when the AI is going to be here?
Yep.
And you be able to be a technician.
And you can just talk to it.
Hands-free and see through.
Yep.
And you have your virtual assistants here. Ultimately, I see smart glass and AI as the sort of becoming becoming the eyes and the ears of our virtual AIs. And it is the most common sense in which we're going to be using AI with our full senses, rather than constantly be looking on the phone, typing, or through voice or through speech, and on the laptop.
It's going to enhance our capabilities
100%.
in ways that we don't even know yet.
You know, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this augmented worker, the augmented worker, for me, is going to be the one which be able to tap into the superpowers of XR through head-mounted displays with AI, virtual assistants. That for me is a paradigm shift.
Miquel, it's been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate your time, and I know that everyone will have got a lot from it. So firstly, Miquel, thanks so much.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Cheers.